welcome you here this evening to hear this amazing group of musicians. This group, let me tell you a little bit about them. First of all, their name, Wai.Tai, it means ocean water in Te Reo Maori. And for Wai.Tai band leader, Robin Camira, the oceans and waterways connect us all, to us all. We are global relations. This is reflected in their music and is universal and connected. And their music also privileges the feminine voice to be brought to the front and heard. So the band merges their authentic sound with music from all over the world and seamlessly infuses it with Te Reo Maori language and the music from Aotearoa at its core. The Wai.Tai lineup is fluid, which means it allows for a combination of musicians and instruments. And as you'll see tonight, there are three guests joining the core group of Wai.Tai, who are all from our Wellesley community. And I'm sure Robin will talk more about that. So it's really been magical to have them here in residence with us this week. It's been a long time coming, and I think our students have greatly benefited from having them here. So please join me in welcoming Wai.Tai.
Aotearoa, Te Reo ki te atua, ko whiturangi tia, e maumahari ora tēnā koutou tēnā tātou katoa. It was a greeting to you in our language, Te Reo Maori, which is the Maori language, and it acknowledges the people who arrived here tonight. It acknowledges the people of the land. It acknowledges our atua, our gods, our God or plural gods, and it also remembers those who have passed before. And so we are the embodiment of all of our ancestors. So I'm going to pass it now to Robin to open us up. Kia ora.
Kia ora tātou katoa. I'm going to now do an English version of what he just said. First of all, thank you for coming to see us tonight. We've been pretty excited over the week to do this concert for you. And we've had wonderful support from Wellesley College as well, staff and students. This is our last day, so it's a little bit sad that it's our last day, but we're a lovely way to end our week. First I want to acknowledge and recognise the land that we stand on, the ancestral land, in particular acknowledging the Massachusetts, the Wai.Tai and the Nipmuc peoples and nations. We advocate for and we support the sovereignty of Indigenous peoples around the world. And in doing that, we also advocate and support humanity, everyone, all of us. So that is what our band is about. We have the pleasure, of course, of sharing some of our thoughts in song this evening. So kia ora mai tātou katoa. I was thinking maybe I'll introduce the band now. We have adopted some people. We have adopted from Wellesley. We are normally a band that will have 5 or 6 people on stage, and we have fluid membership from around the country in New Zealand, or Aotearoa as we call it, of maybe 19 to 20 musicians. But we couldn't bring them all, so we've adopted. So I'd like to introduce first, we have our fiddle player, which is Paula Zeitlin. Drum faculty. Then we have our vocalist, our singer, Leela Shapiro. who not only has had to learn new songs, but also learn new songs in a completely unfamiliar language. Then to my right, we have Te Reo Maori, who is my daughter. Te Reo's tribal affiliations from New Zealand, from Aotearoa, Aotearoa, and another one sounding similar, Te Arawa, and also a little bit of Wai.Tai, which is in the South Island. And then to my right, we have adopted, another adoptee, adopted, Kira Washington. Clearly, you've never heard of her. Kira, of course, is faculty, and Kira and I met, I think, about 4 years ago in New Zealand, and we met, and the very next day we were playing together on stage, so it was a really wonderful experience and a wonderful connection over these years. And then finally, to my far right, we have the band's orator, Anthony Royal, who has affiliations all over the country, tribally speaking. Particularly, I'm going to pick the ones that I think he's going to look at me with a happy face. I'm going to miss some. So, Ngāti Raukawa, which is in the southern part of the North Island. Ngāti Tamatera, which is in the kind of middle upper part of the North Island. And you give me one more, I know there's lots. I'm sure there's another one I've missed that you'd like to.
Oh, you could try Ngāpuhi.
Yeah, forget. So that's in the far North Island. So we are tribally kind of connected around both parts of the island. My tribal affiliations are Te Reo in the far north, particularly in an area called the Hokianga, and it's in the subtropical area of Aotearoa, so I call myself sand dune people. So that's us. We'd like to start with something by way of greeting to you today. I just have to do a quick tune. So we had a lot of trouble with the humidity change of weather this week. It's been exciting for the instruments. country that is so far south. The next continent on the other side of us is Antarctica. So we're not like those Pacific Islands with the waving palm trees and white beaches. We do have those too, minus the palm trees. Those can get quite cold, and it rains a lot. So that incantation that we just sung you was to stop the rain. I'm hoping that it's worked outside and when you leave tonight, you will not have to put up your umbrellas. But that Te Reo is a very old incantation brought forward into a contemporary chant and song. We take you around the world a little bit. We take you through our world, but we also reach out to other parts of the world, particularly where they touch us in some way. One of the creation stories that the only creation stories that we have is the relationship, I guess, the love and adoration between earth and sky. Our creation story started with earth and sky locked in a lover's embrace. So the earth mother and the sky father clung to each other, and their children lived between them. And their children were not happy about living in darkness. So they set about to separate their parents. This song is about the moment that the Earth Mother realizes that she has been prized away from Sky Father, and the grief that she feels in that moment and the love that she feels. This song is called Earth and Sky. I believe it's the greatest love story of all time. We're still in the greetings mode anyway. We've just greeted you in 2 languages. We talked about our creation story. We only greet you again because we do a lot of that at home. We greet people to make connections. We'll often ask, where are you from? Maybe I'm connected to you. Who are your grandparents? We ask questions like that. Where are your mountains? Where are your rivers? So this one is an acknowledgement, but this time in song. So we're kind of spreading it around in different ways, aren't we? This is called Aotearoa, Here We Are. We greet you once, twice, thrice. So we've now read it a few times. We're done now. We're not going to greet you anymore. We're just going to get on with the business. The first piece that we chanted and sung to you was an incantation. This is another incantation. It's very, very old. It causes a person who you desire to fall in love with you. Now, I'm very careful with this chant. It should not be misused. If the person does not respond to you, step away. That's all I can say. So I've taken out all the potent parts of this incantation so that it actually has no power. But should there be someone next to you across the room that you are looking at right now thinking, there's a soul connection here, you could use this, give it a shot. This is called Aotearoa. It's telling the little bird in the forest to go forth to where the object of one's desire is and bring them back to the love's embrace. It's called Aotearoa. What is this word? when I was at university was, his name was Henry Baba. He's no longer with us, but he was in a generation of leaders and thought leaders and people who made it their lives to reclaim traditional knowledge. So I was very fortunate to be at university at the same time that he was. And he was a musician, and I really loved being around a man that had the kind of foresight that he did to bring back traditional ideas and share them back through song. So we're going to sing one of his songs. I think we're in a section that talks about love and affection. So this is beginning. His song, though, talks about love and affection from the point of view of our people. So he wrote a song that connected us to the environment and talks about the love for each other, the fact that we are a collective, we care about each other, but you could likewise apply that anywhere in the world. So this is called Kōrani. Now, I said I was going to take you around the world. I feel like we've spent enough time in Aotearoa for the moment. So we're going to take you over to Eastern Europe for a moment. And join it up with Māori, of course. And this particular song will have these flickers, I guess, of an Eastern European, maybe folk. Maybe it would apply to a few countries. But I was really intrigued by the women's voices that I was hearing through some of the older folk music. And of course, we're a female band. And you might notice over the course of this concert that we hear the female voice very strongly. This band is very much about the female voice and bringing it forward. In our culture, the female voice opens a portal, I guess, to the ethereal world, realm, and the male voice is more in the physical realm. So this group is really about bringing those female voices forward, and it's really wonderful to have three female voices at the same time in a band like this. music from that part of the world, from Eastern European countries. I thought there's something really special there with the female voices I'd like to join up a little bit with us. The song is called Puti Puti, flower, but the flower is a metaphor for a female that you love or have affection for. It could be a child, it could be a grandmother. But this one I wrote for this one over here, this my daughter. She was a teenager, she was growing up, and I realised as a mother that I kind of had to acknowledge she was moving into adulthood, and I had to let go. So I wrote this song as part of telling myself, I guess, that, hey, Lauren, you kind of need to let go. So this one, Puti Puti, likens her and all our daughters to a flower that is blooming, and talks about the beauty of this flower, that they're in the beginning of their life and their adulthood before they truly shine as young people and young adults. And then it has one bit that talks about the whaiaipo, the person who pursues her, the significant other. That's the bit that I thought, I'm going to have to check myself, stay out of it. So to the mothers, fathers in the room with daughters, this is for you. So I don't know what she makes of this group right now, but I think she did an awesome job. But we have a Māori woman singer-songwriter in Aotearoa, New Zealand, who inspired me. She was the first Māori, I guess, singer-songwriter who I felt really understood how to mix up English and Māori together in the same song. And so she inspired me very much, as well as my old teacher that I mentioned before, of how you can bring those two languages together. She's a beautiful singer-songwriter, and she wrote this song. She's a very empathetic person. She wrote this song about the loss of a child at the hands of her caregivers. And so this song is called Mea, and I'll ask Te Reo if she will sing this for you. It's important, even with the most saddest of songs like that one, that we bring you back out again. So this one, Terry was going to sing this one too. It's called Wai.Tai. It is the spring from which love emerges. The spring from which love emerges. And spring, I mean water. We have a lot of springs. Like I said, we have a lot of water in Aotearoa. So much of it. Anyway. So the idea behind this is that this is the wellspring, I guess, of Aroha. You might have heard the word, I guess, aloha from Hawaii. I think it's a similar word, but for us it's not just love, it's compassion, it's empathy, and it's so much more than just that simple word love. So this is Wai.Tai written by Wai.Tai, sung by Te Reo Maori. Freddy's Drop? Has anybody heard of that Freddy's Drop? If you're into the kind of a jazz flavour, they've got a horn section, they do the most amazing songs. And we decided that we'd do one of these. We had to simplify, so we've got 20 instruments on stage. We had to simplify, but we like simple here at Wai.Tai. It speaks of the journey, particularly of our people, but it won't be just our people who have had to fight a fight and have had the odds against them, and they go anyway. So this is called The Raft. This is called Te Moana. Te Moana, two is to stand, and Moana is the ocean. It talks about the steadfastness, the fortitude, the courage, the strength to stand in a raging ocean, to stand with storms above you, with the burning heat of the sun, with the tides coming in and out, tsunamis, you name it. It talks about that fortitude of the rock. And we are that rock. So this is as part of a proverb that belongs to our tribal area called Tubuana. Our meeting house, our gathering place is also called Tubuana, so this is a big part of our identity. So this song picks up on the idea of that proverb, but it also picks up a little bit on our Pacific cousins across the South Pacific, picks up a little bit of their beat as well. So we're now reaching close to our relations across the Pacific, from Hawaii down through to where we are. This is Tubuana.
This next song is Toya, and Toya refers to the paddler, the paddle of the paddles. And we're in New Zealand, or Aotearoa as we know our country. It's a country surrounded by oceans, and it was settled by Polynesians, by the Maori, many, many generations ago. And the only way to get there was to paddle a long way across the South Pacific. And that is our story of how we got to Aotearoa. And what happened was that the people set out from this place called Wai.Tai. Now Wai.Tai, while it sounds similar to today's Hawaii, it's not necessarily exactly the same place. And so there are a lot of islands between Hawaii and New Zealand, including the Cook Islands, the Tahitian Islands, Fiji, lots of them. And so this is a paddling song. And as our ancestors set out from Hawaii, or Hawaii as we know it, they journeyed. So there was a belief when we were colonised that the reason that Māori ended up in New Zealand was because somehow we had got washed away, accidentally landed on this land in Aotearoa. That wasn't the case at all. In fact, there were many migrations that went from New Zealand, not just to New Zealand, but backwards and forwards. And there are many stories of our ancestors, Kupe, Aotearoa, and a bunch of others that regularly travelled the oceans. And it was said that they could navigate entirely by the stars and by the waves. And a lot of that navigation knowledge is being revived. And it's similar knowledge that has been developed right across the South Pacific all the way up to Hawaii. And so many of our Māori navigators collaborate with Hawaiians and others from around the South Pacific, and they can journey without any modern GPS or any of those other scientific, technological advantages. And so they journey today. A lot of the canoes today are outfitted, and they do ocean-going voyages with nothing but old technology. So that's the story of how we got to New Zealand. We found that one of the things that's really important to us is our genealogy, what we call whakapapa. And that is our ability to link backwards, and that's what makes us Māori, is our ability to make those genealogical links. That we were not a peoples that had a written language. It was entirely an oral culture. And so our history was recorded in special people who were given that right or that honour to be able to carry a lot of that oral knowledge. And so one of the things that was handed down was, of course, genealogy. And so many of us can trace our genealogy. I can go back to 7 generations before the canoes even left Wai.Tai. And so that's something really special about how we define ourselves as Māori. Now, of course, we've been colonised by the British and by this, and so we don't have full-blooded Māori left any longer. So what defines a Māori is a number of things. One of them is your whakapapa, your ability to create that genealogical knowledge, and that's pretty important. Your understanding of culture and the practices that make you a Māori, and also the language. And the language, of course, was when the Europeans arrived here. In the early days, many Europeans were very fluent in Te Reo Maori, in our language, because that was the only way you got things done back in those days. But over the years, what has happened is that our dear friends, the Crown from Britain, because of course it was the British that made us into a colony, they spent many decades trying to eradicate our language. They wanted to make us all like British citizens. And so when my father was growing up, it was, they weren't allowed to speak Te Reo Maori in school. They would be punished. And so my father and his family, even though my grandparents were fluent, my father and his 12 brothers and sisters were brought up in the language. So there's been a big revival over the last 20 years or so. And so to be able to sing these songs in Te Reo Maori is really important. So there's, look, why don't we treat this as a little bit of a lecture. Does anybody have any questions? How many people have actually been to New Zealand? Wow, I can't see you very well, I think, but I can tell that there are quite a few hands. And that's, I'm really pleased to have seen. It is a long way. It is a long way to get to New Zealand. It took us, I think the first flight was 17 hours to Houston, and then another, I think it was 3 or 4 hours from Houston up to Boston here. Does anybody have any questions about our band and the sorts of music that we do? I know Ronnie's just popped off just for a second, but she'll be back shortly. And don't be afraid. Yell out. So, I'll put a question. Yes?
Are there other languages
Yes, there are. So in New Zealand, we have one language, Te Reo Maori, but we do have dialects. So different tribes do actually speak slightly different versions, but we all know the dialects, so we can kind of understand. So some words might be different from different tribal areas. So we're lucky in that respect with inside New Zealand that most Māori can converse with each other because it's a fairly... And of course, as we have, and this is one of the issues that we've faced being a colonised nation, is that as we've revived the language, we've tended to revive a standardised version of the language. And so now our Māori language, while it's closely aligned, is quite different from what 4 or 5 generations ago would have been speaking. And then if you start to think about, well, is there any relationship between our language and the other languages of the South Pacific? Absolutely. So for example, the Cook Islands, they speak a version of our language and they're quite understandable. Although you might imagine that the languages have actually diverged over time, but they can actually speak with one another without too much difficulty. And then if you start to actually look at some of the roots of the words, so a lot of the words that we use are actually used all the way up through the Philippines, and even some words are similar in Japanese. So all the way from Japan, the Philippines, right across the South Pacific, and then right down to New Zealand, there's a very common ancestry in our language. And our language is relatively, I say relatively simple. There are some tricky bits to it because it is quite a metaphorical language. So it's actually quite hard quite often to translate directly from English into Māori. But we only have 4 vowels, A, E, I, O, U, and they're always pronounced the same. The variation is we do actually have a long A or a short A, and then we don't have as many consonants. And so our language actually, once you've kind of understood the basics of pronunciation, you can get, it can be relatively easy to pronounce it. Did that answer your question, or was that too long?
I'm curious about your whole process as a band, taking traditional music and bringing it to life in your own voice. What does the music sound like at the beginning, and what do you do as a band? What's your process like to evolve it into your beautiful sound?
Well, our sound is a contemporary sound, but it is based upon a very traditional approach to music. And so if you went back, say 100, 200 years, of course we didn't have guitars or banjos, traditional instrument banjo, which is not. Our music was well, we did have musical instruments. It was much more, we had these things called Wai.Tai, and they're much more chant-like. And so I read somewhere that the closest to our traditional singing is Gregorian chants. And so that it is a very structured way of singing. And people would know these songs, so they're taught these songs. And traditionally, this is how it would happen. We mentioned earlier that we're big on greetings. We have all sorts of greetings. Everything from a very informal greeting. You can't get away. When you meet people, you can't get away from without having a greeting process. But it can be fairly short, all the way through to a long one, which brings to mind, like when somebody who's really important has died, that greeting process can go on for 3 days, possibly longer. So there's a long formal process. And when somebody gets up to speak, and we have a very ritualised way of allowing people to speak, when you have the floor, it is yours. Nobody interrupts you. You're not allowed to be interrupted. It's your floor. And you speak, and you get up, and you have your chance. Then at the end, and it's typically men that do the oratory. Not always. There are some very famous women orators. And then after the speech has been made, there is usually a Wai.Tai that is sung after that speech. And usually Wai.Tai is sung to support the points that the person has just made in their speech. So it's a very formal process. So that's typically our older kind of music. Then if we start to think about, well, what about what's happening in contemporary space? So of course we've borrowed a lot of music from around the world, which this band does. So you'll have heard some Polish influence. You'll also hear some American influence as well. Unfortunately, a lot of our youngsters are getting influenced by music from other parts of the world that are probably not quite so, we would consider quite as appropriate for using our language. So our job is to use the music to bring it into a contemporary space, use some modern instruments, and in particular the genre that we kind of fit most closely into is the folk genre, which is about telling stories. So we're a storytelling band, effectively through music. So that answer your question?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes?
Do you have a favorite word in Te Reo Maori?
Do I have a favourite word?
A favorite word, not a word that is particularly forward or
Well, there is one word that Robin used earlier, and that was aroha. And in one sense, it can be love, but it's also, as you mentioned, empathy, forgiveness, being able to. The hard part about English is you take a lot of words to describe it, but it is that linkage with another person and feeling empathy and offering support. So aroha is one that's used a lot. And so actually there's a lot of songs in New Zealand which are sung, which you'll hear the word aroha all of the time. Aroha, kia ora is the colloquial hello in our language. So when you come to New Zealand, everybody will go kia ora, kia ora. Then there's the more formal way of saying hello, so tēnā koe. Tēnā koe is the formal way of saying hello, and that literally means there you are. Whereas kia ora means be well. Kia means be, wishing you to be. Ora means to be well. So be well is the colloquial saying. So kia ora, tēnā koe. Anybody else been to New Zealand? Those who have been to New Zealand, any other words that you picked up while you were there? Hui is another one. Hui is the word for meeting. We go to hui. Quite often we say, too many hui, not enough dui. That's quite quick.
I've discovered that you all speak Te Reo Maori now.
We have quite a few recordings who have been to New Zealand.
Oh, how many? Lots. Oh my gosh. Okay, come back with us. Thank you, Anthony, Maori report, and thank you for your patience, everybody. We're going to get back into it. The next song is called Hoia, which is the action of paddling a canoe. We call them waka. The canoes can be small or they can be big. And long before the Europeans set sail in their ships, the Polynesians all around the Pacific were already sailing the Pacific Ocean on double-hulled waka canoe, including all of our relations as they made the journeys from the middle Pacific all the way down to where we are. So the action of paddling is the beginning of that journey. And the song was written to acknowledge that sometimes we just have to paddle. We have to show a bit of determination, we have to keep going, we have to stay the course. And we might not feel that courageous at first, but we will get there. We need to just make that journey one paddle at a time. So the Hoi is about determination and growing that courage. It starts off in a vulnerable space, but it ends up in a strong space. So, are you ready, girls? Good. Yeah. By the way, our name for it is Te Reo Maori. Pacific Ocean sounds a bit easier, doesn't it? But we like to remember the ancestors, the deities, and all of the journeys and stories and challenges and wins, I guess, across the Pacific. So we still maintain that name, Te Reo Maori. And at home we would use it a lot. And the ocean is big for us because we're an island, right? We're about the same size as the UK, I guess. And if you haven't been there, let me get you there geographically. So let's start here. Go down to the equator. You pass Hawaii, somewhere right there. You keep going down. You get to Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, you get to the Cook Islands, you get to those islands there with the palm trees. Over to your right, if you keep going down, you get to Australia. Well, no, you don't get to, just pass it. Spiders, snakes, why would you want to just pass it? And then, anyway, wave to Australia, keep going down further, and then you get to a couple of big islands with some speckles of little ones, and that's Aotearoa, land of the long Wai.Tai, New Zealand. And then, as I said before, way past there is Antarctica. So I want you to imagine yourself in this global place, but we are going to now go up very high to China, but back and forth between Aotearoa and China. In the 1880s, think it was the 1880s, we, like many parts of the world, welcomed in the Chinese gold miners. And this is probably, for many places, the beginning of Chinatown, wherever that might be around the world. We also experienced that. They worked very hard. They died there, many died there. There was a man in the South Island, a businessman, who decided that he would return the deceased to their families in China. So he stored their bodies in coffins for about a year in a warehouse, and he took the first shipment back to China to return them to their loved ones. And they have a proverb there that fallen leaves should return to their roots. So this was him making sure that those fallen leaves returned home. So it was a beautiful idea. It was a bit of a bizarre idea too, and it was a long way if you think about where Aotearoa is compared to China. In the second shipment, the same businessman had died in the meantime, so he was now part of the shipment. And so they emptied the warehouse out onto the SS Ventnor steamship. They had 499 bodies, I guess, coffins, shrouds, in that ship, and they set forth. They came from the South Island and went up the west coast, and they hit a rock in Taranaki, which is about midway through the North Island. The captain managed to get her free, and they kind of crawled, I guess. They were going to go into Auckland on the east side, so they had to go up the west coast, up to the top and back down. They only got part way north, and the ship sunk. And all of those bodies floated away or sunk. In the meantime, this is 1902. In the meantime, my ancestors, my Auntie Uru's ancestors, on the west coast, were the tribal area not far from where that steamship sunk. In 1902, came out to the beach one day, and all of these bodies had floated to shore. They had no idea where they'd come from, but they chose to bury them either in the sand dunes if they weren't in such good condition, I guess, but also they took them up to our burial grounds on a hill, and there's a mass grave there today with the bodies of the Chinese gold miners in our burial grounds. So they chose to show love, I guess, to those bodies that had absolutely no idea where they'd come from. Over 100 years later, a Chinese descendant researcher from the South Island happened to be in I think she was in a pub actually, and she was talking to the locals about what she was doing, and one of them said, hang on a second, this story sounds really familiar, you need to go and talk to somebody from my tribe. Anyway, the two stories came together for the first time. I think it was about 10 to 15 years ago. It took that long for these stories to come together. In the meantime, my people, my tribal area, was still looking after these graves with no idea who was in them really, or where they'd come from. So the story came together. As a result of that story, the Chinese contingent came up from the South Island, the descendants of the gold miners, and they were welcomed onto our burial grounds, and they set up a Chinese gate in our burial grounds. So this was the convergence of two stories. This song was called 499, to tell the story of those 499 fallen leaves that were never returned home. watch as they floated to shore. So we buried them there with our loved ones by their side. Under the dunes of Te Reo We also have a big tradition, I guess, around whales. If you think about that part of the world, we do experience beached whales. There are a lot of whales in our histories. There was one particular story that came to mind. My great-grandfather was a prolific writer of old traditions. He went against, I guess, the colonisation agenda of the English, missionaries and so on, to suppress the older knowledge, and he and many others spent about 100 years between 1850 and 1950 writing the old traditions in books, the old manuscripts as we call them. I'm very fortunate to be the holder and guardian of his manuscripts today. I never met him, he died well before I was born, but he does contribute to some of our stories. So one of the stories he told was, in his books, was told by him and another knowledge keeper who said that he had a dream that they were told by the elders who had now passed on to go to a certain place to hold on to the knowledge, and that they had to paddle there. There's a paddle thing going on. So they both, these two knowledge keepers, my great-grandfather and this other man, got into this rocker, this canoe, and they started to paddle in his dream. Suddenly, the man in the front, my great-grandfather was in the back, could hear my grandfather reciting an incantation. And he thought, what's going on? The next minute, he tried to put his paddle in the water, but it wouldn't touch the water, so he looked down, and he could see a big eyeball looking back at him. A whale had come under the canoe and lifted it up. That for him was a sign that the mana of the whale, the prestige of the whale as the esoteric holder, the creature that holds that knowledge, had come to lift them up out of the water, was a symbol for him that they needed to make that choice, not another choice about their knowledge. So they were both knowledge keepers. This song is called Tohoraha, the whale. It speaks to the tradition of that whale as the knowledge keeper of esoteric knowledge. But it also brings it into today, where we have things like hunting whales in the more contemporary environment that they need to be living in today. So it's a little bit of a past and present song at the same time. Tohoraha. I am a song line to me. I think he knows you pretty well by now, but I'm going to change instruments. Actually, he can't wait to tell you something interesting.
Yes. Well, actually, we did go right around the South Pacific. We journeyed all the way as far as Japan. We travelled down through Philippines and across to Fiji, down to Tahiti, Rarotonga, and down to New Zealand. So that's the seafaring journey that that our ancestors took. So what else can I tell you about New Zealand? We were just talking about the language before and about how some of the languages become standardised. And as I was listening to Robin talk about her grandfather's manuscripts, one of the things that struck me was about the old language, was about how the old language was way more simplified than today's language, and was full of metaphor and beautiful writings and beautiful sayings. And it was just, it's a real privilege to see some of that old writing. And one thing that we've found over the years is that actually if you start to think in a different language, your worldview changes. You start to think about what the world looks like in a different way. And so that's the gift that our language has given us. There's a revival going on in New Zealand with our language, where we now have many of our kids growing up learning their language as a first language. So they grow up now with learning 2 languages. Back when I was at school, that was not a thing at all, but all of my, I don't know that many, I've got a few grandkids, they're actually learning both languages. And one of my grandkids' name is Kaya, which is the same as Kira's kid. And Kaya, it's short for Kaiarahi, which is to lead. Kai is a person who knows Arahi is to lead. So a person who leads. So it was a really nice connection. All right, is the banjo ready? Or maybe we'll say something about the song.
The banjo is a bit disobedient. If any of you are banjo players, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This banjo was built in 1890 in England. And some of you may know that the banjo originated from Africa, came over to here, was adopted really quite a lot by musicians through the 1800s and forward of that as well. And those banjos we hear today a lot. They're kind of heavy. And I thought, I'm a smaller person, I want something lighter. And I discovered that the English got kind of annoyed with you guys over here in your flash banjos. So they decided they're going to build their own banjo. So this is the zither banjo. It still has the original calf skin here. It was restored, but there's several parts of it that are still from the 1890 version of it. I love this banjo. I had to bring it through your border control. I was so nervous. But I didn't lose it. I came through Houston, and the guys there said, "What's in that case?" And I said, "Banjo." "Banjo?" "Yes." "Do you like banjos?" "Yes." "That's great." Anyway, I was treated very well with border control. I realise now I should always bring my banjo if I come back to it. But anyway, this is a gentle banjo, and I love the music that I've heard around the world. I've listened to Celtic music. We have a lot of Irish sessions, and Scottish and English are there doing their fiddles more recent. Banjos are appearing as well in those, some of you may know. But I also love to hear the music on this part of the world, particularly very intrigued with the music from the southern parts of the US, and then hearing all of those different things and learning about the history, listening to the content of some of those songs, and also hearing the banjo in Europe. It's just evolving everywhere as music does. So I've fallen in love with this instrument. My guitar's a little bit jealous, but I don't care. So we're going to do a few banjo tunes for you. This one's called South Pacific Paradise. It takes the idea that we treat the South Pacific as holiday place, like I said, white sands, palm trees. But in reality, they have been struggling with climate change and rising waters for a very long time. And some of those islands have already disappeared or are about to disappear. The question for the people who live there is whether they agree to be relocated or whether they want to stay. And so this one is from the point of view of someone who has decided to stay. And I play it on the banjo even though it's a South Pacific content because I wanted other parts of the world to listen to this message that they've been trying to have heard for so long, for at least a couple of decades, and to take note of what we're all facing, but that they've been facing it for a while and no one seemed to care. So we've written this song, we're going to sing this song to bring this message out. South Pacific Paradise. Because the musicians have spent the last, I think maybe 24 hours, maybe 1.5 days learning this stuff, you're hearing some really interesting, different versions of things going on, which I'm really liking. So you can see us looking and laughing at each other, you know someone's doing something unexpected but beautiful. I talked about my great-grandfather before. He was a prolific writer. He did things like he was writing esoteric knowledge in the book. There wasn't much paper or let alone pencils at those days. And he would also write, about the calves and the cows and stuff like that somewhere in the middle of the book, and he would do stuff like that. In one part in his books, he had a piece of paper which was a letter to one of his relations which was the most beautiful way that our old people recognised each other. It's called, I call it e hoa, my friend, my acquaintance. In his case, he was talking to, I think, a cousin or something like that at the time. And he tells her that, he says to her that I hold tightly my love for you, that it shall never move, it shall never shift. And that we remember past times where our tears flowed together, where we carried the weight of grief of our loved ones, our shared ancestors, and that no matter what, that we will sit together and hold on to this relationship and this love that we have for each other and our people. So this letter, I thought, had the most beautiful words. It's all in Te Reo Maori, and it's called E Hoa, and we play it very sparsely, just with banjo and Kira's percussion. But this one in particular, I heard some, we have lots of US musicians in New Zealand, believe it or not, from all over the place. And they were the first to show me, I guess, some examples of music from this part of the world. And I loved it to bits, but one of the songs that I heard a lot was Wayfaring Stranger. And it really struck me as one of the more beautiful songs in the world. And I also heard a version by Rhiannon Giddens, who is a black banjo, social justice singer, fiddle player. And I fell in love with her too. She did visit Wellington for a concert once, and I flew down the other way. I got to be in that concert. And she met all my expectations. But she is another person who has influenced greatly how I do my music. So I'd like to do kind of a touch on her version of Wayfaring Stranger for you. And additionally, because I do this sometimes, I added a verse in Te Reo Maori. So I hope that's okay. Sorry, out of tune. Banjo, multi-banjo. I hope there's not too many of you with good ears. Thank you, America, for that song. On swapping instruments, Angie, or Kira, or whoever. Won't be that.
What's the next song? So this next song, Fade Away, there's a band called Shea Fu in New Zealand, and let me just see if I've got this right first. It's a Shea Fu song, and here, Te Kaupapa o Tēnā. Te Kaupapa.
Oh! Fade Away. So Shea Fu is a Maori, I think he's part Tongan as well. Singer-songwriter, another one that I really love. Fade Away was the story of the Māori battalion. So in World War II, World War I and II, Māori were asked to fight a war that wasn't theirs. It was a war based in Europe. And he sings about this, but he sings with affection for his friends who for the very first time are going overseas. So it's a very strange kind of situation for them, fighting a war that's not theirs, but it's the first time going overseas. So he speaks of his affection for his friend, and then eventually he also gets called to go overseas. Fade Away. Oops, make sure I don't write this. Oh, it was an interesting time because in the 1840 the treaty was signed with the English. By 1860 there were land wars, a lot of land was taken by the English, leaving Māori with only tiny percentages these days. And in the same lifetime they were asked to go and fight in World War I for the English. So you can see why that would have been quite a challenging thing to be doing. At the same time, by that time, it got to World War II. The Māori battalion fought. They had 4 battalions around the country from different tribal areas, and those soldiers in particular, those battalions, are well known for their bravery and their sacrifice. So proportionally, they lost more men in those battalions than the white folks in our country in the main, in the other battalions. So there's, as you can tell, there's some hurt sitting there as well for our stories around those 2 war events. We're staying with war for a while, but don't worry, we'll bring you out of war later. Children of Romania is about the sacrifice, I guess, of civilians and particularly the children in that part of the world over the years. It was written by Massey Ricker, who was the woman I talked about, who mixed English and Te Reo together. This is a beautiful mix of 2 languages and a beautiful song. We're going to sing this for you. Children of Romania. Sit up in my room now. Walls are closing in. Borderline insanity I keep up in my head. Innocence is stolen. Doomed from the beginning. Walls of paper thin made. Screamed out me in, lock me in, I join in. I think it's time they realize the truth, the lies, the sacrifices. I think it's time they see through. jumping over a few. We'll do Aotearoa, in fact. And I think that will be our last one, so it's 9:30. Thank you so much for spending time with us, for your patience while we stepped out for a little bit, and for listening to our songs and being such a lovely audience. Making sure I got the right intro. To those who funded our visit here this week, to those who are standing on the stage with us, to those who have organised our food, our rooms, the logistics, to Mr. Soundman Daniel, thank you, and to the team, and to you, the audience, thank you so much for having us. Kia ora.